Hi, I'm Simon K. Jones, and this is the latest chapter of Tales from the Triverse. This is the last flight of the Beagle, Part 3. Addis Ababa, Max Earth, 2550, March. Stillness, at last. Quiet. Each of Kaminsky's limbs felt heavy, his entire body languorous and reluctant. The slow morning after a long night, burrowing back down beneath the covers, delaying the responsibilities and noise of the day. As hangovers went, it was a bad one. He'd been boxed about the ears, everything was bruised, and he had no notion of where he was. He wasn't even lying down, but was hanging awkwardly in an uncomfortable seat. That wasn't it, was it? His eyes focused, though his hearing remained a distant echoing deep rumble, as if he was submerged. He was so tired, more so than he'd ever been, and wanted nothing more than to go to sleep. Had he been sleeping? He couldn't remember. Movement, and someone came into view, crouching in front of him. He blinked, squinted, everything still blurry. Lola? He blinked some more, his vision clearing enough to see the vomit on her dress. You've been sick, he said. Yeah, she said, fiddling with the restraints. Why was he tied to his chair? It all seemed a bit silly. Shit, she said, tugging at the belts across his chest. Something's got jammed. Clark? Oh. Yeah. They'd been in a spaceship crash landing. That's what had happened. Add it to the list of absurdities. It was weird that they weren't dead. Kaminsky had been certain of death. More certain than usual, that is. The hopelessness of their predicament made even a flicker of hope a waste of time. Yet, they were still alive. The cabin was on its side, everything mangled and twisted. Kaminsky's seat still attached to what was now a wall. I've got Chakraborty, came Clark's voice from off to the side. She's out but breathing. I think she bit her tongue. Christ, this is a lot of blood. Zoltan, come on, Lola said, putting one hand to his face so that he had to look at her. I need your help. We need to get you out of this. The ship's on fire. That was more like it. Burning ship, fire, trapped. That sounded much more like the Specialist Dimensional Command. The incompetent adventures of Kaminsky and friends. I'd rather have a cigarette, he muttered, surprised by the fragility of his voice. He was underwater, his head pounding, his brain running at half speed, his muscles aching from the effort of holding his limbs together during the descent. It would be altogether simpler to just stop, to stay in the seat. He smiled thinly at Lola and tried waving a hand. You go on ahead. Someone else was tugging at the restraints now. Lola's friend from Palinor, whatever her name was. This would be so easy if I could wield, she said. There was a crashing sound, and he peered around the side of the seat to see twisted metal and plastic fall from what had once been the lift shaft to the other levels of the ship. A figure was getting back to their feet. The pilot. Shit, Kaminsky said, nodding in his direction. He's in a worse state than me. The pilot's arms were gone, as well as half of its chest from the left shoulder to what would have been the lower ribs. The face was torn, revealing a translucent plastic frame. It was Justin, he remembered. Good job, really. The robot limped over to Kaminsky's seat, gently but insistently pushing Lola and Yana aside. It stood on one leg and lifted the other, reaching out with its bare foot and gripping the restraints. A single tug, and they were gone, ripped from their mounts. Kaminsky tumbled from the seat and fell to the metal floor. His right knee exploded in pain. Get up if you want to live, Detective Kaminsky. The pilot turned and walked to the other side of the cabin, where they started working on the battered airlock door. Lola grabbed his hand. Come on, Zoltan. He snatched it away. No, I'm tired, Lola. It's all such a drag. You go. His kneecap felt as if it was in the wrong place. The heat was more intense. The darkness of the crashed ship was illuminated a flickering red. What's going on? Clark was there, next to Lola, then leaning over him. Kaminsky, get moving. No, I'm done. The old man was bigger than him. Kaminsky had always been quite slight, wiry, awkward in his skin. Clark crouched down, grabbed him by the shirt collar and pulled him up from the ground into an awkward kneeling position. His knee objected. You are not done, you selfish bastard. You're getting up. You're not done because I'm not done. And if I'm not fucking done, neither are you. Unfinished business, me and you, right? Callahan, backer, 5 years of exile. We've got to take down these fuckers, and I don't think I can do it alone. Did you know, Kaminsky said, his voice slow and drawn out, that there's a fire? Yeah, Clark said, hauling him up until they were both standing. Kaminsky was impressed. The old man was stronger than he looked. That's why we're leaving. His knee could barely support his weight. You can, I've got nothing left in the tank. Clark tightened his grip on Kaminsky's collar and pulled him closer until Kaminsky could smell the other man's breath. There was blood around Clark's mouth. You don't go, I don't go. But I'm not dying here, so you better get a move on and stop being a little prick. What's the point, Clark? They keep beating us over and over. A vein was pulsing on Clark's forehead. His face was rage. That's why we keep going, until we put them in jail or in the fucking ground. Every single one of them. That's what I'm living for. You got Nisha. She needs your help, so stop behaving like a twat. Daylight flooded into the cabin, a white shaft highlighting the smoke that was filling the space. Gerard ran around the outside of the ship, trying to find an entrance. He could see a line of police advancing from the portal station, but they were a ways off and more concerned with setting up a perimeter to protect pedestrians than getting to whomever was inside the ship. A spaceship wasn't meant to lie on the ground, on a major road in the middle of a city. He couldn't tell the front from the back or the top from the bottom, a process made even more difficult by the damage. It was enormous too, bigger than you would have expected from watching endless loop videos of ships docking with the space elevator. After a half-circuit, he found what looked like an oval-shaped airlock door. He barely had time to consider it before it cycled open, with the sound of scraping gears, smoke expanding out into the street. On the other side was a man with horrendous injuries. Their arms were gone, half their face, their clothes burned and ragged. "Hello," the man said. "My passengers need assistance." It was a pilot robot. Gerard could feel his heart pounding in his chest. He peered into the airlock and saw 2 women, carrying a third. They were battered, their smart clothes torn and dirty, the third woman seemingly unconscious. Blood covered her, from her mouth to her waist. "Hi," he said, approaching them with a smile. "I'm Gerard. Are you okay? Can I help? Let me take her. Is there anybody else?" Gerard had always been strong, and the unconscious woman wasn't big. He took her from the other women and lifted her up over his shoulder, like he'd seen in the safety videos when he'd worked for a summer as a lifeguard while travelling on mid-Earth. He glanced back as he carried her out, to see 2 men emerging from the smoke, similarly bashed up, and one of them was limping. The next sensible thing to do was to get to the police cordon. The pilot host was already on its way, walking in an awkward lope with its shattered body. Even carrying the woman, Gerard caught up to the pilot just as they were approaching the police. The pilot collapsed to the ground in a tangle of limbs and components, a white liquid leaking onto the tarmac. One of the police officers stepped forward, a stern woman with an intense stare. "Thank you for your assistance," she said, rotating her shoulders. "This body is much better." He looked to the broken host on the floor, then back to the police officer. "You're the pilot?" "Call me Justin. I am a quantum AI. These police hosts require direct handshakes to prevent unauthorized takeovers, hence having to get close. Are you capable of carrying that woman further?" They turned to the other officers. "All host officers, please withdraw to neighbouring streets. Your presence is a risk. All human officers, I would appreciate your assistance, escorting my friends to the portal." Without argument, half of the line of police turned and began marching away. Another sonic boom echoed out of the sky. There couldn't be another ship coming down, surely. Gerard turned, looked up. A black shape was descending, altogether different to the crashed ship. It was oblong and obsidian, light seeming to slide off its surface, the afternoon sun glinting off its odd protrusions. Gerard couldn't get a sense of how big it was, his eyes unable to comprehend its scale or distance. "Run as fast as you can," Justin said. "Do not stop. I have arranged for security to allow you immediate access to the portal." Gerard didn't know what was happening, but obeying the police officer seemed like the best approach. He gripped onto the unconscious woman's back and legs and started towards the entrance to the portal station. As he ran, he noticed that the police host robots had stopped marching away as instructed and were instead standing stationary at the edge of the street, facing away, staring at nothing. Thanks for listening. You can leave comments and get lots more Tales from the Triverse over on my newsletter at simonkjones.substack.com. New chapter every Friday.